All right, my friends out there in YouTube land, this is yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal. Hope everyone is having a very happy New Year. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, and all that good stuff. And again, hope everyone is having a very happy New Year. I'm not going to be on too long, but because I don't want to take everyone's Sundays away, and people watching football games and that. But I wanted to kind of touch on the subject of this guitar with these pickups. And there's a reason for that. I saw a video that was posted up a couple of days ago, and there was two older gentlemen. They were both playing the guy's Les Pauls, both Gibson Les Pauls. He had a Sunburst Standard, that's what this is. And then the other guy was playing his other Gold Top with the P90s and the wraparound bridge. Okay, so they're kind of talking about the distinction between the P90 sound and the double coil humbucker sound. And again, they were both Gibson Les Pauls. Now you could definitely get them in the Epiphone. At least I do know the Standard with the burst buckers. You can get this on the Epiphone, and I'm pretty sure Epiphone did have a Gold Top version, or the Epiphone version of the Gold Top P90s. But I do know just fairly recently, within the last year, Epiphone released the TV Yellow Les Paul special with the P90s. Epiphone inspired by Gibson with the P90 sound. Okay, so but let's say, all right, and the reason why I'm doing this again, it's the new year, so let's say you got some gift cards and some extra money and this, that, and the other, and maybe even a gift card, from Guitar Center. Let's say someone was generous enough, the whole family pitched in $100 each, and they got you a gift card that will take you up to $500 plus everything else. So let's say you have collectively enough money with your savings, this, that, and the other, and you want to buy a Gibson, right? And let's say you really do like the Les Paul Standard. You like the way it looks, it was maybe your dream guitar. But now you're also considering, I do like the sound of the P90s, so should I compromise and buy the Epiphone TV Yellow, the Epiphone special? Or should I buy an Epiphone with P90s, Or should I even buy the Epiphone Standard with the, select this type of selector, switch up, setup? You could do that. But let's say you really had your heart set on buying an American-made Gibson. And this is the only time you got, one shot in a long time to buy one. It's not like you go out and buy two, right? Or if you do buy two, you buy one first, and then maybe a few years down the road, maybe you buy another one because of the price. But you got your heart set on buying a Gibson. I'm going to make a suggestion that might help, because this helped me. And when we got this Les Paul, this is a 2013 model. We bought this January at 2014. We bought this. I think it was January 4th or something like that. We bought this. And it was on a special sale. So we were able to, it was what, $18.99, which is unheard of. And, with the tax, it brought up to like $2,022, whatever it was. We were still living in Naperville, Illinois, suburb of Chicago. And I had an opportunity to buy a few. I did have a choice. I could have applied that sale to any Les Paul, virtually any Les Paul. And I know they had the Gary Moore model. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is this has the out of phase selector, so I could kind of get that sound if I want. But what's really cool, and I was like, man, I was right on the fence of grabbing that Gary Moore. But then this thing really was standing out to me. And when I was playing this, and it got shipped right to Guitar Center, right from the Gibson factory. So it was over at Guitar Center a few days, if that, right from the Gibson. So it was, okay, brand spanking new. But the more I was playing this, and I kind of liked it with the pickguard, but now I'm liking this without the pickguard. But the more that I was playing this and realizing my tonal variations, the versatility, I was like, you know what? Let me grab this, because, for instance, I have all my switches basically off, so nothing's activated. It's all humbucker. You get that nice, what we used to call the Gibson sound. I'm specifically gonna do most of this video, most of this live stream, with the pickup selector in the middle, so it's combining both pickups. What is happening, everyone out there? Happy New Year! Hope all is well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, and thank you guys for all your support. I really do appreciate it. I know we've been going live a lot. We've been having a lot of gigs, and so. Which is a blessing. But the thing is with this guitar, with the switch in the middle and using the combination of both the neck and bridge pickup, I think this is where this magic really comes into play. Okay, now here's the out of phase without it being activated as coil tap. If you, on this particular guitar, on the tone, the neck pickup tone, when you pull it up, you get that type of a sound, okay? Now, you can turn down your treble volume, and you start hearing it. So you still get a little bit of warm, but you still have that out of phase going on. So you're trying to match as much as the P90 sound. It's never going to sound exactly like a P90, because a P90 is a P90. That's Gibson's version of a single coil, which actually was the pickups really, when they were made in the early days, they were basically a P90. It was basically single coil. The humbucker came later to help stop the hum. That's why they're known as humbuckers. They stop the noise from the single coil. Okay. So that's what's going on. Now if I bring back up my treble volume, if I want a little more twang, I could bring down my neck pickup volume. Or bring up. So now when I call for coil split on both pickups and with the out of phase, this is what you get. Now let's say I want a little bit more bass. So you see the combination is, it's like never, it's pretty much endless. So you can really do a lot of fine tuning here. Now let's say I want both coil split but no out of phase. Well, I just push this down and now I get the coil split. And again, when I have push these back down where there's nothing activated, this is what you get. So it's something to really think about. Now I'm gonna put on a little bit of overdrive here, so you can hear this with overdrive. And maybe I'll take off the delay. So again, it's just the neck and bridge pickup. Nothing's activated, so. All right, now I'm going to activate the out of phase. You hear a little bit of that nasal sound, right? When I deactivate it. Activated. See what I mean? Could you hear all that? And that's what the overdrive set. Now if I do with the coil split, and I do not activate the out of phase, you can hear the coil tapped activated, and it's almost like so now when I activate all of it, you know, coil tap and out of phase. Now if I want to just use the bridge pickup, let's say if I'm in a situation where I'm going to do some recording and I needed just full humbucker, you know. Or just a neck pickup. You know, or what I do like with having the pickup selector in the middle, if I want a little bit more highs from the bridge, I could roll back my neck pickup volume. If I want a little bit more from the neck, I could just roll down the bridge. And then vice versa. I mean, and also with the tone, I could, you know, roll the tone back in that. But it's really interesting because, again, if you only have one shot to buy, you know, buy something like this, and you know, the Gibsons are expensive. This is a really good option. You know, my personal suggestion would be started with this, because you might not get another chance to buy another Gibson for how long, you know, or something like that, because of the price. So you might as well go for something that, you know, has as much versatility as possible. And again, you know, it's all your personal preference. You know, there's hundreds of guitars out there. You could get all these different, you know, combinations. Or if you want to buy an Epiphone, just an Epiphone standard, or an Epiphone custom, and then you can buy the Burstbucker Pros for the Epiphones. That will do basically the same thing. You know, but see, now you're going to spend extra money, then the guitar's going to go in the shop, or if you want to do it yourself, you know, it's extra time. But let's say you're performing. Then, you know, if you don't have that much money, you could grab the Epiphone. But this really was specifically for people who wanted to, you know, they got one shot to buy something nice and expensive that they've always wanted. and you got to the point where your style is on the more versatile spectrum, and you don't know if you should grab this or that. With this guitar, you can definitely cover a lot of ground. Zach Dawn, what's happening? Happy New Year. This old man, Happy New Year, my friends. Matthew, Happy New Year. Let's see. Happy New Year. Let's see. It's real hard for me to see. Now I get all these things that are popping up on my phone. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a nice and safe New Year so far. But you could hear what this is doing. And like I said, look at the tonal versatility. Now, even though it's choral split, choral tap, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to sound like a Stratocaster. You got to buy a Stratocaster. This is common sense. Um, but now with the single coil pickups, you could dial this, that, and the other in. But see, you have to do what you want to buy. That's what you want. But with this particular guitar, and when I saw the video, the guy's got his Sunburst Les Paul Standard, and then he's got his gold top of the P90s. And it's like debating now what he was doing, and you can get, again, when you have the switch in the middle, roll back your different tones, and you get certain things. You could definitely achieve certain things, but if you in a situation where you could grab one that you have all these options, this is where it's going to open up tonal wise with this one guitar. Now I do know people are going to say, well, it's not like the true Burstbuckers, we don't have those options. Yeah, you're right. Anytime you're taking a pickup and you're doing things with that pickup, it's going to take something away from what it originally is. Okay? So you have to keep that in mind. But let's say you want all these extra options. It definitely is worth, going for, because, again, you could still achieve the full double coil pickup sound. And you get all these little extras. And again, when you add overdrive, now if you're using a whole lot of gain and distortion, it might start to mask it a little bit, I play things differently, so I'm not trying to do everything exact. Like, it's off the record, that's not my thing. It's not that I couldn't sit there and do that. It's just that I choose to do what I do because that's just what I choose. I like to be a little bit creative. So I know when people say, oh no, Dave, he bended it here, that, fine. If the person wants to do that, go for it. If a person wants to embellish on things and add, their personality to it, go for it. And here's something very interesting. if a person's going to tell you, well, no, so you have to do like this, otherwise you won't get the gigs in it. I'm getting the gigs, and I'm not trying to follow what everyone else is doing out there. So it's proof that you can break off, be your own person, and still do some of these covers and kind of embellish your personality into it. It's proof right there. And the reason why I'll say that is because I know there's some people that'll say, no, see, he's not doing it this way, he's not doing it that way. I'll see his videos, you're playing this song wrong, you're playing it. No, you're playing the song the way you're playing it. You know, half these people, they don't even know how to read notation. I'm not trying to knock them, but a lot of them, if they would have to take notation and take a good look at it and analyze exactly what's going on, they get lost, you know. But you know what? What they're doing is still good because it works for them. And you know what? When they have some advice to give to people, they're coming from one perspective, and if that works for them, absolutely. You know, the thing is, it's how you take the information that's out there and how you apply it to yourself. You know, so you have to keep that in mind. But the reason why I'll say that is because I know some people say, "Oh no, so you have to bend the string here, and they're doing this and doing that." That's fine, you know. This is really just to kind of use this as a little example here with the tone. Now we do the out of phase. Now I'm going to add the coil tapping with the out of phase. Now I'm going to take the out of phase out, but leave the coil tapped in. Now I'm going to take everything out and just leave it at humbuckers. Another thing you got to keep in mind, how it's going to sit in the mix when you want to have certain things to pop out. So you might say, I don't really like the way this sounds with the out of phase. It's kind of nasally, this, that, and the other by itself. Well, yeah, you're right. But now when you put it in the mix, it cuts right through. So there's certain things that, whether you're playing with a full band or if you're playing with tracks, especially if you're playing with tracks and everything's basically coming out of one speaker, because that's the only, there's no room for all this other stuff. There's another thing you got to take and consider, my friends. You know, these gigs that we do, sometimes I have a lot of space, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I could do this, sometimes I can't. So, you know, when we go in and do these gigs, I have to keep all that in mind. Because it's nothing is like what you see on these ads where people walk in, you know, and they're walking in on a dark stage, and it's not always like that. That's not the real world. That it really is not the real world. So when you have to maximize less gear, but you have to get the most out of it, this is where it becomes kind of a challenge. But at the same time, you start realizing, you know, it's not only the gear, it's also the player. And when you're doing some of these gigs, maybe some of these people that are sitting in that audience could care less, or they like it, and you know, they don't know the difference between P90s or humbuckers. But I'll tell you what, they know the difference between tipping you a 20 and tipping you a couple of singles. You know what I mean? So everything is relevant that's out there. So you have to definitely keep that in mind, you know. What works for me might not work for everyone out there, and vice versa, you know. But the reason why I'm emphasizing this now, and I know it's still talking about, you know, the P90, you know, not the P90s, but the burst buckers. And, you know, here's a good example. When I have to do things on the nylon string, the gauge strings I have on the Cordoba right now is hard tension, D'Addario hard tension. I can't find the extra hard tension. I used to use those exclusively, the extra hard tension. So it's a little bit harder even to bend those strings. So the thing is, when you bend in a note, let's say, I'm bending a whole step. There's a half step. There's my half step. There is a difference between a bend note and a slide, meaning sliding from one note to the other. There is a difference. But there are times when you're in that situation that to achieve the better of the two, the slide works. And in this case, with a nylon string. Now, I'm not going to go in the whole debate. Well, you could bend this, you could put, light gauge, you could do whatever you want. But when you're at that moment in time, that's when you have to make that, and you only have like nanoseconds to make that decision. So always do what's going to work best for you during that performance. Hey, I make mistakes too, None of us are perfect. But there's nothing worse than you get someone that wants to analyze everything that you're doing and they want to give all this advice, but yet they don't want to follow their own advice. So I just want people to just kind of keep that in mind. You're never going to sound exactly like the people. When let's say for instance, that was a Led Zeppelin song I was doing that little example for it. They're never going to sound like they did on the original recording. You know what I mean? Everything's good. There's variations. So it's the same thing with cover bands. So don't even worry about that. But getting back to the guitar itself, if you only have one time to buy, an American-made guitar, whether it's a Fender or a Gibson, or even a Paul Reed Smith, and you really don't know which one you want, you have to kind of look at what are you going to use it for. In this case, if you happen to be more of a versatile player and you're trying to get as many tones as possible, then that would be always the best option, because maybe tomorrow's gig you're going to need those options, but the gig next week you just need humbuckers. I don't need it. But you'll see you'll have it available for you, When my first very good guitar I had was a 1978 Ibanez Artist, and I've mentioned that many times. This is back here, that Artist, that's right there, that's a 1983. And it does have the coil split, and it's got the Super 58 pickups. But my 78 model had the Super 88 with the tritone switches. So, right from the get-go, I was able to get a guitar that had these options to get all these type of tones that I needed. So you could hear that, right? So it's all these options. And that's what I was really looking for, because at that time, it was like, it wasn't a fork at the road. It was more like, a whole bunch of different roads I was taking, and I was absorbing all this information. I thought, well, this guitar could do a multiple of things. That's great. And of course, at the time, that's all I was able to afford. And it worked out great for me. So if a person is in those situations, it's something to think about. Let's see. This little guy. What is happening? Everyone that's tuning in, I'm on my phone, so it's kind of hard to see who exactly, because the type is so. Let's see. Yeah, play the song your style, but still keep. Yeah. Here's the thing, Zach. That's a really good, interesting statement. What I do when I'm going over cover songs, I kind of go over like the basic foundation, the skeleton part of the song, and then as long as I know that I'm hitting basically its main theme. Well, obviously with the chord progressions, but with the melodies. I always shoot for those main memorable melodies, and everything else is kind of like icing on the cake, And part of that reason is because the situations I've been in, I had to get in and out quick, I wasn't in a dedicated tribute band or dedicated this or dedicated that, I mean, I played in them, but I wasn't always like that. And then being creative, right from the get-go, I just have an imagination, and I'll take chord progressions. Next thing you know, when I was learning cover songs back in the day, I would make these mistakes, right? Like we all do. But those mistakes started to open up doors to creative ideas, and I thought, well, I could do this with that, So it starts to kind of snowball. And you start getting very creative, and then you start looking at like, well, wait a minute. These songs, all they really are is a bunch of chord progressions, but I'm hearing what I could do with these chord progressions. I think that's one of the best ways to learn how to write songs. because you're not restricted to a certain platform. You just like it's happening. It's coming as it's happening. So I always agree. Make things your own. Yeah, many performing guitars makes multiple mistakes. Oh yeah, absolutely, in their own songs all the time. It is what makes live performances so cool. They sometimes play the leads differently and corporate exactly. Yep, this old guy, you nailed it, 100%. And that actually sparks something new. And that's why if you were to take the live concerts of Stevie Ray Vaughan, especially with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Just he's one of many that comes to my mind. But with him, each performance is slightly different. Because it's that moment in time. And I'm gonna this old guy. I'm gonna tell you, I when I was a kid, this is back in the '70s. When I got record albums for a birthday or Christmas. Because my birthday's in November and Christmas is, right after. I can't remember if it was the first two albums I got for presents. Was Aerosmith Live Bootleg and Deep Purple Made in Japan. Now, I don't know, I can't remember if I got the Deep Purple album before the Aerosmith album, but it was those two albums kind of like back to back, within a month's time. And they were both live, and there was something magical about the live performance. That energy, there's something you can't really get that too much in the studio. Although there's cool things you could do in the studio, but there's something with that live performance, So I think that's what made me hooked on live performances, recordings versus studio recordings. I respect them, but the live performances, man, it's the real deal right there. And then, growing up in Chicago and all those clubs, you're seeing people play right there. There is no, well, we didn't use backing tracks back then. Everything was right there. And if you made a mistake, so what? You keep moving. You keep going forward. You don't announce the mistake. It's the performance. So all of that, when you're exposed to all that, it stays with you, and that grows with you. But yeah, it's real interesting what you could do. Now, this old guy, you got a couple of Les Paul. You got some nice ones. And the ES-335 is a beautiful guitar. With those tonal differences, see, it's nice when you have a few guitars because you have that arsenal there, A Telly's going to sound like a Telly, and that little Squire Telly is pretty badass. It's working out great, But a Telly's not going to sound like a Les Paul, and a Les Paul's not going to sound like a Telly. But what you could do with a guitar that you have these active, or these type of pickups where you could do multiple tones, there's something magical there. Because there are times you walk into even a recording studio or recording session, whether it's at someone's house or in a studio, and you don't want to drag a whole lot of gear. If you got one guitar that could do a multiple of things, you always win there. Yeah, my Les Pauls sound different in all strats. Yeah, exactly. Now, what I will really quick, tongue tied. I'll grab the little Jackson 7-string because we just picked this up, and I know this about the burst buckers, but really quick. We didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, and this whole idea with this is really from the idea of an Ibanez jazz guitar, 7-string jazz guitar. Okay. But with this guitar, it is their lowest model or the most affordable, entry level 7-string. I guess it's the Jackson Dinky. But these particular pickups, now they have these guitars with the flat black finish that are more of a humbucker. These type of pickups, they give me the impression they're like a combination of a P90 and or a mini humbucker. Because when I have the switch in the middle, it's almost that tone. It's not exactly a P90, but it's almost that tone. And when I use the overdrive, you still get that. Now I tuned it back up to B, and you get, you know, certain things. But the couple gigs I did New Year's Eve and New Year's Day gig, I had this tuned down to A. The only thing is, this string is the gauge is a 058. If I'm going to leave it in A, because there's certain interesting things you get with A, with this fretting one finger, you get the root, the fifth, and the octave. So you got your three fingers, you know, available to do melodies around. If I do that, I'll have to bump this up to a 60 gauge, but I want to make sure, cause you know, it's not going to destroy anything up here with the nut, you know. So, and the reason why I'm saying that, I could still drop this down to A, but when it's tuned back up to B, it's got a tighter sound because, you know, the string is much tighter. So if I go to A, I might bump this up to a 60 gauge. I could just try, you know, buy a E string 60 gauge and just try it and see what happens. But it is interesting what you can do with these. And then of course with the overdrive, you know, you got that. I'm not too much into that. What is cool with this, though, you know, finding ways to do volume swells where it's almost like mimicking a cello. But real quick, if you get one of these and you leave the low string tuned to B, and you want to understand about how can I work this with a scale or a melody, easiest way to do this, I'm gonna take like a C major scale, you know, just natural notes. Think in terms like this. What you do with your second and first string, you'll be able to do with your seventh and sixth, because your second string is B, your first string is E. Your seventh string is B, your sixth string is E. So let's say you're doing something like this. You got B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, here you got B, C, D, E, F, G. And then as you climb up, C, D, E, C, D, E. And then you got D, E, F, D, E, F, and so forth. There's one way to think about that, you know, so you don't get yourself all messed up. It's really, it could be really a challenge making that switch. Oh, this particular neck is also really flat, like kind of like the Ibanez Wizard, with enough girth there, so it's not gonna be like so flat that's like, okay, if I put a hard tension strings in there, I'm gonna pop the neck or something. And it's nice and wide. If you play classical guitars, it's not gonna be difficult. The thing is, when you're doing chords, let's say you're doing a minor seventh chord with your root note is on your A, the easiest way to remember this. Oh, I got that. Is that you're going to have two top strings free. You're not going to fret them. Because as you look down on the guitar, now you're seeing an extra string and everything gets shifted. So it's like your treble strings went down. So it like could kind of throw you off. So that if you're doing major bar chords where the root note is on your low E, just keep in mind, when you look at it from this perspective, you're just not going to fret that top string. And it's kind of practice. It's usually going to be your accordions like that, where you could kind of run into a little bit of a challenge visually, because now you just added another string, and it could kind of throw. When you added that other string, it just appears that your treble strings went further down. So that's what's going on with that. So, anyways, my friends, getting back with the Les Paul. Yeah, all my Les Pauls sound different. Yep, exactly. Eric Clapton Unplugged is an awesome live. Yeah, it's all that stuff is great. If anyone wanted to, if you're into, and I'm not gonna say shredding, but if you want to hear something that is just, you could kind of, it blows your mind. The versatility of playing. If you were to get the album Friday Night in San Francisco live, that's with Al Di Meola, Paco de Lucia, and John McLaughlin. Now, I seen them in concert in 1983. So that's after they came out with the Passion, Grace, and Fire album. And at the end, their encore song, I think it was, they brought out Steve Morse as a special guest. Well, back then, when you see people playing like that, you as a guitarist, when you went home and you did one of two things, you either quit playing because it was just blowing, your mind just got blown right there because you're seeing this live right in front of you, or you stayed up all night in practice. Well, I stayed up all night in practice, man, because it was just so inspiring to see that, But you do that, and you incorporate all those techniques, and you use it as your arsenal. But I really do believe that having strong melodies is very important, because if you're an instrumentalist, and I guess if there was words of advice I could give to someone who wants to gig as much as possible, and let's say you got to do some of the covers, and pick the covers that you really enjoy listening to. Really, because when you play, you got to be as honest with yourself as possible. You really do. And when you don't have a vocalist, do the vocal melodies. It's really not that hard. And even when you can read notes, you get to notate, you'll find yourself maybe altering some of the notes, because what is actually printed is not necessarily what the person is actually singing, because the human voice has got all these variables. But when we're doing, was it A Girl Like You? Well, let's see. The vocal melody is just really right there. You'd be surprised what you can really do with a lot of this stuff. You just have to have a creative mind. But again, when I hear people say, no, you got to do this, that, and the other, well, we're doing all right. But that's another subject for another time. And the same thing with the 7-string. We'll do more videos with this, obviously. But I definitely wanted to touch the bases here with the Les Paul and the Burstbucker Pro pickups. And again, you can buy these separate. I also think that Epiphone will have their maybe their Epiphone inspired by Gibson. And the reason why I'm saying this is, excuse me, the screws or the ring casings could be slightly different, enough that when you buy them, they could make a difference. I do know this bridge right here is a roller bridge. I do have the original bridge, but I've got this, as anyone could see that with those rollers there. When I got that bridge, I had to let them know that it's for a Gibson, not an Epiphone. And he says, yeah, you got to be specific, because the size, as minute as it is off a little bit. So if you get something for Epiphone, you try to force it on your Gibson, it might not work. And if people say, no, Dave, I was able to do that, then okay, that's fine. But I wasn't going to take the chance. So I just said, yeah, just give me one for the Gibson. It's just something to keep in mind. But other than that, you could take your regular Les Paul or whatever single cut, if you got a Schecter, if you got an Ibanez single, whatever it is, and you wanted to start messing with the pickups and get as much versatility as possible, you know, um, you could definitely do that. You know, you could get on YouTube and see what's out there. And then I always suggest also going to the music store and playing the guitar that has them, so you can actually hear it right there, because it is going to be different. Because there's also that feel to it. We see the only thing with YouTube is, even when you put the headphones on, that you get closer to what the feel would be with the headphones, because it's almost direct. Or even if they're doing a direct recording, but it's still not like when you're right there, because you're actually hearing it from whatever amp you're plugged into, you know. And that's always going to be the proof in the pudding, because when you play live, you're right there, you know. So, but I mean, like I said in the beginning of this video, if you only have like one shot to buy a Gibson, let's say your heart is set on buying a Gibson, and all of a sudden, 10 years ago you liked the humbuckers, but now you also like the P90s, and it's like, man, I can only buy one guitar, This is only one shot, I could do this. An option is the Burstbucker Pros, because of this option. And then here's your out of phase. And then here's the coil tap with the out of phase. And here's the coil tap without the out of phase. See all these options? So, anyways, my friends, I hope this is a little bit helpful, because again, everyone's got, we're celebrating our new year, right? So, you might have some extra money there. Let's see. I'm going to close in here. Yeah, I found that most groups and artists I prefer their live performance. So, yeah, I do too. I really do too. Sonia, what has happened? Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Sonia, I really appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I have to get off because my battery's flashing. Bumblebest, what's happening? Happy New Year, my friend. That's okay. Yeah, this old guy. My 2016 traditional has classic 57s paths. Yep, and my 60 has a 61. Yeah, the custom buckers. And my 50s gold top has the P90. Yeah, see? And they're all different. Yeah, they're all going to have a different tone, And honestly, if you want the P90 sound, you get a P90 guitar, right? If you want the humbucker, then you get the humbucker with the classic 57s or whatever, because it's going to have that true tone. But this video I saw, I wish I could remember. It was two older guys. Well, they appear to be older, And it was interesting watching them, because I understood where the guy was at. He said, this was his 50s, as I don't know if it was a 59 reissue, whatever it was, but his Les Paul Standard Sunburst was his dream guitar. That was his dream guitar. But now he's starting to like his P90s, because he got a gold top with P90s. So it's like, okay, if you can afford the two, that's great. But if you cannot afford, and there's only that one shot, this is a really good option because of that. So, yeah, my battery's flashing. Low batteries might shut off any moment. Okay, my friends, well, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope this is helpful, Again, it's your money. You buy what you want, and make it work for you, because you're the one that's going to play it. It doesn't mean you got to drop $1 gazillion. No. You know what? It's also in the hands, too, Everything else is secondary. Anyways, my friends, I hope you're having a great new year. And, we are playing tomorrow, 6 to 9. Now, tomorrow night, I'll probably bring the Ibanez Artist. And, of course, the Cordova and the 7th string. So, again, I'll be 6 to 9 playing tomorrow. So, anyways, my friends, we'll stream it live. So, I really appreciate all your support. And, again, hope this helps. And that's a pretty nice finish, man. This is still like my most versatile guitar with the strongest tone, So, anyways, my friends, be safe out there. Until tomorrow, you stay safe, strong, and true. Thank you for tuning in. Rock on, and God bless you, my friends. Take care.